Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. You're watching our cloud school where we are discussing various data integration problems and how do we resolve those with Azure Data Factory as a data integration service. Today in this video we will discuss one of the problem statement where we have a CSV file and we would like to convert a JSON from that CSV file. So let me show you a CSV file which I have. So this is the CSV file. So let me just show you in edit mode. And this CSV file contains the information about the family, like parents information and children's information. And this is how the data in CSV looks like. So you can see that in this CSV we have two parents like Rakesh and Padma, and here we have three children's information for each of these parents, right? And what we want to do is we would like to convert this CSV into a JSON which will look like something like this. So where we have ID and then we have a array of parent which is of object type, then we have a children which is again of array type, and we have all these three children's associated with these, and then there is an address of the family given here, and then when this record was created, when whether this particular family is registered or not. So this is what we would like to have it as an outcome of the CSV. So in our previous example we have learned how do we convert this JSON into CSV. Now we are reverting back our exercise wherein we are converting the CSV to the JSON, which is like this. So let's go back to our ADF instance and we will create a new pipeline. So for that I'm going to click on author. I'll create new pipeline by clicking on new, and here I'm going to use the data flow. So I'll be dragging the data flow activity on the canvas, and to define the data flow I'm going to create a new data flow which will require to be add or configured here in the settings panel. So click on new and then our data flow is ready. So let's call it as a data flow JSON output, because that is what we are looking for from this data flow. Add new source will require the data set to be configured because we need to specify where is our source data coming from. So I'm going to specify my source data as in data set, so which is going to be our type Azure Blob Storage. I'll be selecting the file type as in CSV, which is a delimited text, and then from here I'm going to specify as in source CSV. Let's see if that works. Next I'm going to choose the link service option, which is a source blob storage link service which we have already created in our previous demonstration. After that I'll be clicking on this browse button and select the container where we have our file, and in fact I'm going to select the file which we are looking for. So this is our file which is a out_result.csv, and that particular file contains the data which we would like to transform. So our data set is ready. Now the source option we have here, we are not going to make any changes. So according to the projection, CSV contains these many columns, which is what we know. Optimization, as of now I'm not going to make any changes to the optimization, and then inspection contains the similar information. Here you can preview the data. Of course you need to have the debug mode enabled before you preview the data. In case if you have not enabled the debug mode, please enable it, and then after that you would be able to preview the data into your source. So as the result of the preview, this is what our data looks like. So we have just got one ID, and then it has got two parents, and then each parent has got the same three children, right? Next we would like to have the derived column, because we would like to convert the information like parent information and children information as an object type. So I'm going to create a derived column calling it as in parent and child. So let me call the column name as in parent. Similarly I'm going to call it again a next child, which is children. Next column, similarly I'm going to have another option or another column as in next. I'm going to call it as in children. Here I'm going to specify the expression. So let's double click on this expressions column, click on the parent, and here at the parent I'm going to specify add sign, and then we will use the opening small bracket and closing small bracket. Here in the expression I'm going to use the red sign and then opening small bracket, closing small bracket, and that is where we are going to specify our expressions. So our expression is going to be the name of the column what we would like to give. So for an example, I would like to call it this parent family name as in family name. Similarly, the next column I would like to give it as in parent given name as in given name. So make sure that you put the comma in between, right? So this is what it's going to be. Click on this save button. Now your parent would have these two children, family name and given name, and now if you click here you would see that these are the two option, or these two columns are derived from this expression. That's option number one, or this is the one way you can define the expression by coding. If you don't want to do the coding, you can click on this plus icon, add new subcolumn, give it a name to your subcolumn. Let's say the given name is, or maybe family name is the name of the column. I would like to give it inside the children's, so you can see that that's the name of the column I have given, and then this is the column is derived from. So family name is going to be mapped from this children's family name. Let's save it, and this our column is ready. Next I'm going to create another sub column. I'm going to call it as in given name, right? And this time I'm going to double click on this given name. Make sure do not double click like this, otherwise it will be incorrect mapping. So just single click on this and then add another column which is going to be, let's say, gender, and here I'm going to again click on add one more column. It's going to be, let's say, grade, gender, right? In case if there are any errors due to some clicks here and there, this is how you can rectify the mappings. And after the mapping, your derived columns or the new columns, which is going to be a complex structure, will look like this, right? Now if I have a data preview of the same, so now earlier we used to have 12 columns, now we have 2 additional columns, parents and child. So if I refresh it now, let me just make this screen bigger, you would see that it will have all the 12 columns. Along with that, it would have the object as in parent and child column at the right side, and this is what our parent and child information looks like, and it has got the data which we are looking for, right? But this information is kind of a duplicate, and again this data which is here in the parent and child contains a duplicated information as well. So what we want to do is we would like to aggregate the data which is a duplicated right now. So let's aggregate the data, and for that I'm going to click again on this plus icon, and here we would see that there is a aggregate schema modifier data transformation available. So let's click on this aggregate option, and here you can specify you would like to aggregate on what basis. So let's say I would like to aggregate the data on the basis of parent, for an example, right? I want to call it the parent. What we want to do is we would like to aggregate the data, so I'm going to call it as an aggregate function. So aggregate function we would like to do is, because we want to convert the object into array, because we want to have the array of parent type. If I show you the JSON example again back, you would see that we are looking for parent as an array and then children as an array, whereas currently what we have is not array, it is object types, and for that reason we would use the function as in collect. So there are two functions as a collect and collect unique. Collect will basically convert any data what you have it as a that object data into array, and collect unique is something we are looking for. So if you have a unique, if you have a data which is repetitive, then it will basically consider the unique data into a collection, and that is what we are looking for. So let's give it a name of the column which we are looking for here. So parent is the name of the function we are, or this particular object name we are looking for, right? Similarly, I would add another column, same here, which I will define it as an aggregate, and I'm going to call it as an child, and then I will again use the collect unique function, but this time I'll give it children. Both of them are ready. Let me just save it, and this is what your data is looking like now. So now instead of the object type, now it has got the collection as an array type. You can see that the symbol has changed now. It has now become an array because we are using this collect unique. If I go back to the derived column, it looks like an object type. You can see that from here, and also from the data it looks like a data type, as in, now if I go back to this schema, you can see that the data type is a complex data type, which is object type, not an array type. Whereas here, if I look at the inspection, it looks like complex type, which is of type which is of complex array type, right? Let's refresh that and see how the data looks like. So this is our parent and child data looks like. So we have got 2 parent information, what we had, and then we have got 3 children information, what we were looking for. So now group by ID we have not used, so we group by column we have not used at the moment, but we need the group by column because our group by identifier is the ID column. So we want to have a group by based on the ID column. So let me just use the ID as in group by, and that will use the group by as an ID. Let me just refresh it. So now we have got ID, we have got parent, we have got children as well, right? Let's go back to our derived column option. So in the derived column we have parent and children, but we have not considered the address as well. So let me just go back to the address column here again. Let me go back to the derived column setting, and I'll add another column as an address, and then here we will insert the specification on the configuration which we would like to have for address. So I'm going to use that direct column, and for address I'm going to specify all my columns related to the address like this, which is very easy. You just put on all your values which you would like to have it as part of your collection or object type. I'm going to slightly modify that as in city to address city, then state to address state, and then county to address county, like this. And finally I'll save it. This is really important to save it. Now my address has got these 3 fields. Let's make it like this. So if I again preview that, now we should have, as an inspection, we should have these 3 columns, additional columns as well, right? Okay, so we have got all these columns like parent, children, and address. Obviously these columns are repeated here, right? And within the aggregation we have got parents, children, and then ID. But what about the other columns like creation date, is registered, and the address object itself? Because 2 property we want as an object type, and 1 property we want as an object of array, and then array of object, and then the other property we want simply as an object, and then straight away these are the simple attribute which is of type number and string or boolean type. So for that, in the aggregation function I'm going to use in the aggregate function I'm going to use a new type of mapping, which is going to be add column pattern. And here I'm going to specify, give me all the columns which are not ID, children, or parent type. Okay, so for that I'm going to specify the condition here, and the condition is going to be, let's click on this expression builder, and here in the expression builder we can say that name, which is going to be the name of the column, should not be, let's say, parent. And for AND condition I'm going to specify this, and name should not be equals to children, and again name should not be equals to id, right? So if the column name is not parent, children or id, then what we want to do is we want to grab or use those column and use those column as in column name. So whatever is the column name apart from these column name, the name of the column is going to be remain as is, and the value is going to be the first value of those we want to use. So I'm going to use the first function, which is aggregate function, which we can use. So just I'm reading the expression again. So these two columns we have created as an array type, you can see that, but the rest of the column, what we are saying is if the column name, each column that matches, and the column name is not parent, column name is not children, and column name is not id, then name of the column use as is, and the value of the column should be the first value of the column has should be assigned here, right? Now if we go back and inspect this again, you would find that, let me just refresh it, I'll show you what value we are looking for here and what kind of a value we would have. So we have got every column, id, parent, child, and then other values as well, like you can see, right? But the values what we have got is the first value here, right? And I'm not bother about these first value because these are anyways redundant values and we want to get rid of it because the values we have already captured in these object or array of object type. But basically the columns we have got. Now next transformation activity which I'm going to use it here is the select transformation activity, because instead from these 15 columns we would like to use the column which are useful. For an example, we have got the id, we have got the children's and parent, so we don't need these independent columns. The rest of the columns like these which are already part of the array type of object, I am going to remove it. But now here this is how our structure looks like: id, parent and children, right? State, address, so let me just call it as an address, just remove this address type again, creation date and registered and address type. So this is what our structure should be looking like. And now if I review the data, let me just refresh it. So this is how our data looks like, where we have id, we have parent with 2 elements in the array, children with 3 elements in the array, create date, registered, true, false, address as an object, right? And finally, now we are good with our data. As now we are good with our data, I'm going to save this into the destination, and for that I'm going to use the destination as in sync. And here I'm going to specify the data set. So let's specify the data set type as an Azure Blob Storage, and I'm going to use the JSON as in blob storage. Let's call it as blob storage ds. And here I'm going to specify the container in which we would like to write our outcome. I'm not going to specify the file because the name of the file which we will specify from the settings section. So here is our sync, where we have specified our data set which is of type JSON. In the settings, file name options are given default. So if you do not specify any file name which is going to be default, in that case it will uniquely generate a new file name, or random file name will be generated. But if you would like to use output to a single file with a file name which of your choice, which in our case let's say temp.json, or we will call it as a result.json for an example. This requires a single projection, which means that the projection needs to be changed to be single. So from here the projection is going to be changed to single if I click on this option. So let me just click it on this option, and the optimization will be changed to the single projection, and that is it. Let me just validate our data flow. So data flow is successfully validated. And then let's go back to the pipeline, validate the pipeline as well. Pipeline is also validated. Now we are good to run the pipeline. So let's run the pipeline by debugging it. So I'm going to debug the pipeline. That will create a new unique pipeline run ID, and it will run the pipeline in a debug mode. I'll pause the video while it finishes the run. So our pipeline is successfully completed, though it took some time to complete the activities, like 2 minutes. So let's verify the result. So I'm going to refresh my blob storage, and I'm going to look for the result.json, which is this one. So that's the file which is created just now. Let's click on edit, and this is what the JSON it has created. So if I will copy this JSON and try to validate this JSON online if I can. So let me just click on validate JSON, and you can see that the JSON is successfully validated. We have got the parent with these two information. We have got the children with this information, address and creation date as well. And that is what we were looking for. And so this proves that our objective is completed and we are getting the result as it is expected, right? Now let's look at another situation wherein we have two different IDs in the JSON, right? So let's say that if we have a JSON, or if we have a CSV which contains the parent or the multiple family information, because this CSV contains the family one single family's information. But what if I have a CSV which contains another family data along with this? So this is a Wakefield family, and then again I have a family with this ID which I would like to generate as in JSON along with this data. So let me save this. I will run again the pipeline, and what will happen we will see. I'm not going to make any changes to the implementation what we have. I'm just simply changing our input data, and now I'm rerunning the pipeline just to make sure that what is our result looks like. So our pipeline is successfully completed. Let's verify the result. So now if I go back again, the result.json, if I click on edit, you would find that now we have got two IDs, one for this family and one for this family, which is good, which is what we were looking for. But in terms of having the result as a correct JSON is not going to be the case. You can see that we are getting this error, end of file expectation error. And now if I try and validate the JSON online, so which is my JSON, and it will fail. The reason for that, each of these records are not having a correct JSON type. Individual records are having a correct JSON type, but combining together and creating a file is not of JSON type. So what it looks to be, or it needs to be kind of an array type. Let's say that if I make it like this, and then in between these records I need to put a comma, and then if I say a validate JSON, it will be validated. So in a short, my current solution is not going to help me representing the or generating the data, which is basically work for multiple families which is there in the CSV, and that may be most likely you might have a requirement, right? So how do we tackle this situation? How do we generate the output which may look like this, or maybe it looks like, let's say like this. I'm going to call it like this values, and it's going to be, so the values we have, and then values is type of array, and each element in the array represents individual families, right? So this is what we are looking for, and in the next demo I'm going to show you how do we generate this kind of output from a CSV which contains the information of multiple groups of record, like record or the information from multiple family, for an example in this case. Till then, thanks for watching it, and do consider subscribe to the channel if you have found this useful, and I'll be see you in the next video. Thank you very much.